post it on the internet. We would like to be more inclusive. So please, the form is still open. Send me the name, send me the person. If you have pictures, you can email them and we'll add those in. So all of our veterans who are here today, we did collect that information to enter that. I can change things at any time. So please, as you have the time, send that so we can update this. And then this will actually be posted online. It's not there right now. So just giving you an explanation. Thank you to those of you who submitted the names and sent pictures. It's a much nicer document to go through. But your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, a sibling, we want to include everyone because we appreciate the service that all did, that all were willing to give. So just an explanation of this. Send me your information and your pictures. So Jared, come on down. And then we'll get ready to start here in just a moment.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to welcome all of you here today for our annual Veterans Day observance. I would like to give a special thank you to everyone who worked to make this celebration possible. The United States Department of Veteran Affairs has adopted the theme, Honoring All Who Served. We hope the veterans assembled here or watching the video stream are able to sense our sincere appreciation for their sacrifices, their service, and their devotion to our country. To open our program, I would like everyone to please rise for the colors presented by Homer Center Senior Landon Ellis, which will be followed by the pledge to the flag and the playing of the national anthem. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Some opening remarks.
Good morning. First off, Mr. Weitzel, our superintendent, usually makes the opening remarks at our annual Veterans Day Assembly. He sends his deepest regret for not being able to be with us today, as he's attending a meeting off campus that was unavoidable. Just also want to take a moment to thank Mrs. Yerke, our other staff, and the students for all your hard work to plan and coordinate this program today. A special welcome to all of our veterans and community members joining us in person or remotely today as well. This is the first time I've had the honor of welcoming our veterans to our annual assembly. Veterans, whether you have served during peacetime or wartime, the personal sacrifices you've made in service to our nation is appreciated, respected, and is the reason we gather here today to honor all of our veterans of United States Armed Services. It's important that we have a specific day to reflect and focus on the contributions of the men and women who have donned the uniform of our country and all the contributions they've made to our nation. However, one day is not enough. We do not live in a perfect country. However, I assure you this, you live in the greatest country on this earth. The blessings of freedom we all share were not gained for free. Sacrifices have been made by those who have served in our armed services. Sacrifices have been made by the families of those who have served. Some have made the ultimate sacrifice in giving their lives. Some have incurred physical wounds and mental wounds that have drastically changed and impacted their lives, all for our freedom, for our nation, and for our students and our staff, for you. You live in a nation in which you can share your grievances, peacefully protest, speak freely, worship as you please. You do not have to conform. There are so many other examples that could be offered. The point is, do you ever pause to think about why and how you have these freedoms? As a whole, we need to reflect often as to why and how we have our freedoms. We have these freedoms because throughout history of our nation, men and women have answered the call to service for our nation and sacrificed for you to have the freedoms that we all enjoy. One day to honor these men and women is not enough. We should reflect often on this question: how and why do we have our freedom? When can you reflect? You can reflect in the morning when we pause for the pledge or a moment of silent meditation. You can reflect when you hear our national anthem being played. You can reflect when you gain a glimpse of our flag waving, or when you are spending time enjoying the freedoms that you have with friends and family. We need to respect those who have provided our freedom and the symbols that represent their sacrifice. Please take time often to reflect on our veterans and what they have given to you. I'm honored and humbled to be in the presence of the veterans today who have honorably served our country in both wartime and peacetime. From Homer Center School District, thank you for all you have given your country and for us. I also want to take a moment before I close to acknowledge two veterans who have instilled in me respect for country and the importance of service to others. The first is my dad, Richard B. Rainey, who was a specialist 4th class in the 60th Transport Division. My dad served in Vietnam from 1966 to 1967. Dad, if you're watching this, thanks for your service and for raising me to appreciate freedom and respect our nation. The other is my grandfather, Richard G. Fyock, who served as a technician specialist as a medic in the 101st Airborne. He served during World War II. My grandfather fought at the Battle of the Bulge. He served from 43 to 45. While serving, he met and married my grandmother. Pap died in 2011, but I honor him for all he gave for our country and to my family. So I just want to thank everybody again. I want you to take time, not only today, but every day, to reflect on why we have the freedoms that we have and who has provided for them, and make sure that you honor and you respect their sacrifices that they made. To our veterans, thank you for everything you've done for us, for our nation, our community, and you continue to do. Thank you, and let's have a great program.
Our program today consists of a collection of musical pieces and prepared comments by student speakers. Zach Rouser is going to talk about who a veteran is.
What is a veteran? Title 38 of the Code of Federal Regulations defines a veteran as a person who served in the active military, naval, or air service, and who is discharged or released under conditions other than dishonorable. Anyone who has served honorably in the 8 uniformed services of the U.S. government is considered a veteran. Veterans are parents, children, siblings, men and women, young and old. They come from all races and all walks of life. They have in common is that they all have made the commitment to serve our country. There are around 19 million veterans in the U.S., which is about 10% of the U.S. adult population. From the 300,000 World War II veterans who are still alive to those leaving service after serving in the War on Terror, millions of brave men and women have answered the call to serve. To do that has required personal sacrifice and a commitment to excellence. For that, and so many other reasons, they deserve our recognition, our gratitude, and our respect.
Emma Eubanks is now going to talk about what is Veterans Day.
Veterans Day is a well-known American holiday, but there are also a few misconceptions about it, like how it is spelled or whom exactly it celebrates. First, a lot of people think it's Veterans Day with an apostrophe, but they're wrong. The holiday is a day that belongs to veterans or multiple veterans, which is what the apostrophe implies. It is a holiday that is honoring all veterans, so no apostrophe needed. Secondly, Veterans Day is not the same as Memorial Day. Veterans Day celebrates the service to U.S. military veterans, while Memorial Day honors all who have died in the military service. Armed Forces Day honors those who are currently serving in the U.S. military. Veterans Day gives us the opportunity to honor all who have answered the call to service. Veterans Day was originally called Armistice Day, commemorating the end of World War I. World War I officially ended when the Treaty of Versailles was signed on June 28, 1919. However, the fighting ended about 7 months before, when the Allies of Germany put the effects of armistice or stop to fighting on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. That is why we celebrate Veterans Day on November 11th. Since World War I was a global event, other countries recognize Veterans Day as well. In Canada, Australia, and the UK, it is called Remembrance Day. Whatever it is called, it is an opportunity for us to show appreciation for the millions of brave men and women who have honorably served. We must never forget why we need our military. Our armed forces solely exist to ensure our nation's safety, so that Each and every one of us can sleep soundly at night, knowing that we have guardians at the gate. But this Veterans Day, I believe that we should do more than just sing and praise. The bravery and patriotism that our veterans have embodied in the past, we should take this opportunity to reevaluate how we treat our veterans and our president, and the president for the rest of our days.
The senior high chorus, under the direction of Miss Laura Root, will now be singing Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA. For the main part of our program today, the members of the Heritage Conference Impromptu Speaking Team have selected quotes relating to the significance of Veterans Day. Speaking about the topic of responsibility, we have sophomore Eden Gutierrez.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to celebrate our veterans and what they've done for our country. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, Freedom makes a huge requirement of every human being. With freedom comes responsibility. This quote is very simple, but it also has a very passionate meaning for our country. It means, with us citizens of the United States being given the privilege of freedom, we must retain that freedom by being good citizens and all taking a part in serving our country. There are many ways and examples that we can serve our country as citizens. One of them, serving in our military, as these veterans have done. And that puts a great responsibility within all of them, and it's a very honorable job that they have done for us. And there are many other examples of this, such as obeying the law. Being a good citizen, we must obey our laws that our government has made for us. And what that does is it has our responsibility of keeping peace and order within this country. Without obeying the law, you're infringing the rights of not just yourself, but others. Another way of doing this is simply spreading kindness and having an optimistic attitude within our country. Without optimism and without our motivation to keep driving on, we would not have our freedom to begin with. Spreading kindness is something that a lot of people nowadays have started to lose. But I feel as though if we just keep on pushing a little bit more, then we are able to be free as a country and to provide motivation and an uplifting to everyone's attitude and mood. Going back to being a veteran, they have the responsibility of lives and everyone else's freedom. Not just their own lives that they're risking, but everyone's. They go to war and they fight for us to be here and to be alive. They fight for our freedom and our rights to simply go and walk out every day and to simply see the sun and say good morning. So I just wanted to thank our veterans for giving us the possibility to have responsibility and serving our country in our own ways. Thank you.
By video recording, please enjoy the Homer Center Elementary 5th and 6th grade chorus perform America. Sorry.
We weren't prepared for the extra video sound, sorry.
Next, we have Junior Jessley Sharp on the topic of sacrifice, effort, and passion.
In President John F. Kennedy's inaugural address, he stated his famous quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Originally, the speech was intended to inspire citizens to see the importance of civic action and public service. President Kennedy made this statement to challenge Americans everywhere. He challenged Americans to be righteous and create change for the better. This idea can be concurred by James Bryce when he made the statement, "Patriotism consists not in waving the flag, but in striving that our country shall be righteous as well as strong." In saying this, James Bryce meant to convey the fact that patriotism does not come in vain acts. Patriotism comes in action intended to create a stronger and more righteous nation. These ideals are exhibited strongly in the everyday actions of our veterans. These ideals can be seen in milestones such as winning wars and serving time, but also in the unseen sacrifice, effort, and passion. Our American military, past and present, have shown the strength and discipline to make difficult sacrifices. These sacrifices include being away from their loved ones for extended periods of time, suffering debilitating injuries, and living with the lingering memories of war. The effort of our veterans can be seen in the work ethic that has been used in the United States military for decades and the time committed to the armed services. Lastly, the passion of our veterans has moved them to put forth their effort and make difficult sacrifices. This passion and patriotism moved our military, past and present, to the commitment of the service to our country. Most notably, the passion of our veterans has protected rights and provided us with the basic freedoms we enjoy every day. The sacrifice, effort, and passion shown by our veterans is a prime example of this action. The type of action is exactly what JFK and James Bryce intended to inspire by their famous quotes. When JFK asked the nation what they could do for their country, they served. And when James Bryce said that patriotism comes in striving for strength and righteousness, our veterans showed us what strength and righteousness looked like in the hardest times. So as you go out of this assembly, look at the world around you. Observe the freedoms that our veterans have created for each of us, and then ask yourself the same questions our veterans did. What can I do? When we stop scrutinizing our world, we will see what we can do to strengthen it. So today, be inspired by our veterans and take action to create a country that is stronger and more righteous than it was yesterday. Thank you. Happy Veterans Day.
Please enjoy the fourth grade chorus performance of "You Are the Grand Old Flag." today we have Senior Gabi Page on the topic of duty, honor, and country.
Today, we honor those who have put their lives on the line to ensure and protect our freedom and safety. There is a quote by General Douglas MacArthur that resonates with me because I feel that it embodies the dedication and sacrifice that these brave men and women have given to us. MacArthur stated, "Duty, honor, country. Those three hallowed words reverently dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be." Duty. All veterans, whether old or young, man or woman, big or small, made the selfless decision to take on a great duty, one of the most rewarding duties this country has to offer. Not only did they fight for themselves, but they fought for you, for me, for every person in this room, and every person in this country. They sacrificed their time, safety, health, and most importantly, their lives in order to maintain the freedom and peace of this nation. Their duty is one that the majority of people could not handle. I know I couldn't. Not only is it a physical battle, but it is a mental and emotional battle as well, and our brave veterans chose to fight this battle for our citizens. To all of our veterans, I extend my utmost gratitude for the duty you served. Honor. Serving in the armed forces is certainly one of the greatest honors a person can possess. Our veterans are aware of this great honor, and we as citizens are too. If you ever have the privilege of talking to a U.S. veteran, please acknowledge their honor and thank them for their bravery and selflessness. And to our veterans, you should be honored for your service, and we thank you for everything you've done for this nation. Country. The decision to serve for one's country stems from a love for one's country. Our veterans would not have served for our nation if they were not proud to be an American. I am proud to be an American, and you certainly should be too. As citizens of the United States, we have the freedom to pursue all of our dreams, no matter how abstract. But this would not be possible without the brave soldiers who risked everything for our liberty and safety. Thanks to our veterans, we have the privilege of calling our country the land of the free and the home of the brave. Just like General MacArthur said, every soldier once had to consider what they ought to be, what they can be, and what they will be. But there is one word which best describes what they are today: heroes. To all of our brave heroes, we sincerely thank you for your service and wish you a very happy Veterans Day.
Each year, the President of the United States issues a Veterans Day proclamation. As last year, President Biden has designated the entire month of November as National Veterans and Military Families Month. I would like to welcome Turk to share the President's proclamation.
America has the greatest armed forces in the history of the world. To those who serve and to those that serve alongside them, their families and caregivers, we owe a debt we can never fully repay. During National Veterans and Military Families Month, we recognize and thank them for their indispensable contributions and immeasurable sacrifices in support of our national security. As we approach the season of Thanksgiving, we send our gratitude to millions of service members, veterans, military families, caregivers, and survivors who have served and continue to serve our nation. I have said many a times, and it comes from my heart, we as a nation have sacred obligation to properly equip and prepare our troops when we send them into harm's way and support them and their families, both while they are deployed and when they return home. The First Lady and I know that it is not only the person who wears the uniform serving our country, but also the families who make enormous sacrifices for our nation. As the poet John Milton wrote, they also serve who only stand and wait. We understand the feelings of pride, uncertainty, and fear when a loved one is deployed. Every morning when you wake up and say that extra prayer for them. Our veteran family and military families do so much and ask for so little. They are strong and adaptable, changing course to accommodate the needs of our country and often forgoing personal wishes. They are capable and proud, holding down the holding down the home front during their loved ones' deployments, coping through their absences and the risk of danger, and helping them readjust when they come home. These families and their soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen are simply the best America has to offer. When they do not have what they need to thrive, it is not only individuals who suffer. If service members are worried that their spouse is struggling to keep food on the table or that their child is having a hard time at school, it is harder for them to focus on their mission. That is why supporting military families is a national security imperative. Since the earliest days of my administration, we have become committed to a whole-of-government approach to responding to the real-time needs for our military and veteran families. Through joining forces, the White House initiative to support veteran and military families, caregivers, and survivors. My administration is addressing military spouse employment and entrepreneurship, military child education, and family health and well-being. The First Lady has met with our nation's military and veteran families, caregivers, survivors, and advocates to learn how we can better support and prioritize their needs. Those discussions help inform the efforts across the government to share data, create innovative solutions, and implement evidence-based programs and policies. In September, joining forces and the National Security Council released a report outlining the first round of administration-wide commitments and proposals for supporting military and veteran families, caregivers, and survivors. We are committed to continuing these efforts because we must and we will honor our sacred obligation to support our military and veteran families and ensure they receive the resources they need to thrive. Throughout November, we show our appreciation to the spouses, partners, children, caregivers, and survivors of our service members and veterans for their selfless sacrifice on behalf of the nation. We honor them and their invaluable contributions. We share their pride in our armed forces and we will never forget what they and their loved ones do for us. Now, therefore, I, Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority invested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim November 2021 as National Veterans and Military Families Month. I call upon the people of the United States to honor veterans and military families with appropriate ceremonies and activities, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand in this 29th day of October in the year of our Lord, 2021, and the independence of the United States of America, the 246th. Thank you.
The high school band will now perform a celebration of taps. Taps. This arrangement of the ever-familiar taps was inspired by the ceremony that was held in Arlington National Cemetery in May of 2012. The occasion marked the 150th anniversary of taps and featured approximately 150 buglers assembled together to pay tribute to the piece. First, in a mass playing of the tune, and then at noon by dispersing into all parts of the cemetery and playing individual renditions of this hallowed melody. The effective space of Arlington, so the listener heard the bugles that were close and the ones that were far away, some in different keys, all contributing to taps of sound. The celebration of taps is an attempt to capture the effect of its ceremony. Good. pleasure to introduce Julia King for the next part of our program.
It is our honor to recognize each of the veterans who were able to join us today. Each will receive a token of our appreciation. In addition, we present them with a certificate of appreciation that reads, "We honor your service, your courage, and most of all, your sacrifices. Your dedication to the United States of America, its ideal, and its military is commendable. It is an honorable addition to the freedom you bravely fought for, not only for the families in America, but throughout the world." As I introduce the veterans present, please hold your applause until we recognize each of the honored guests. Dave Scher. He reached the rank of E5 and he was in the Army. He served from 1970 to 73. His family here is Jaden Scher. Harry Shirley. He reached the rank of Master Sergeant. He was in the Air Force from 1954 to 82. His family here is Beth Shirley. Leonard Evancic. He was in the Air Force and served from 1958 to 62. His family here is Ava, Julia, and David King. Wayne Snyder. He reached the rank of E4. He was in the Navy, and he was served from 1967 to 71. His family here is Hannah Hughes. Sam Marone. He was a machinist mate second class in the Navy. He served from 1961 to 65. His family here is Hayden, Hannah, Roan, Aiden, and Jackson and Carson around. Paul Blatt. He was a corporal in the Marine and a chief petite officer in the Navy. He served in the Marines from 1960 to 64. He served in the Navy from 1964 to 84. His family here is Chloe Kelly. James Elliott Sr. He reached the rank of corporal in the U.S. Marines. He served from 1964 to 68. His family here is Ayana Elliott and Mason Conkle. Jason Johnson. He reached the rank of sergeant. He was in the U.S. Air Force and Army. He served from 2000 to 2019. His family here is Hannah Hughes and Lizzie Johnson. Rick Wisinger. He reached first petite officer. He was in the Navy and he served 8.5 years. Please join me in showing our appreciation for our honored guests.
Clevenger is going to talk about this year's Veterans Day theme.
Today's theme is celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It is placed in Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia. There is approximately 400,000 people buried there, with 2 former presidents. The Tomb of the Unknown Soldier represents the soldiers that fought, lost their lives, and that haven't been claimed or identified. There is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for a whole year, all the time, guarding. The soldiers who guard it, they are very important. Through terrible weather, snowstorms, blizzards, and rain, they can't leave. It takes them 8 to 10 hours a day, the day before their shift, to get everything all ready for their shift the next day. The tomb, you can't disrespect it. If you disrespect it, it's kind of just spitting in these veterans' face. It's a real big thing for these guys because, they lost basically their brothers and their family for it. To conclude here, throughout bitter cold, extreme heat, and terrible rain, these soldiers are still guarding the tomb. And on a side note, please, whenever you get a chance to thank a vet, not even tomorrow, throughout the whole year, please thank a vet whenever you get a chance. Thank you.
Of all the military bugle calls, none is as easily recognized or more apt to render emotion than the call of taps. The melody is both eloquent and haunting and serves as a vital component in ceremonies honoring military personnel. It is fitting, then, that as we honor all who served their country, we take a moment to remember those lost and harmed while serving, those who bravely served at home and or overseas, and also those presently serving in the armed forces. As a tribute to honor all veterans, Isaac Marshall and Hunter Elias will perform the traditional taps. Please join me in observing a moment of silence to honor all veterans. Thank you. Matt Malacker will now share the closing remarks for our observance today.
In 1969, comedian Red Skelton gave his personal view of the Pledge of Allegiance. The statement he made at the end, I think, tells it all. Red Skelton, one of America's best-loved comedians and star of motion pictures, radio, and television, was also a true patriot, a man who loved his country, its flag, and the freedom America stood for. On January 14, 1969, Red touched the hearts of millions of Americans with his Pledge of Allegiance, in which he explained the meaning of each and every word. Red's pledge was twice read into the Congressional Record of the United States and received numerous awards. Red Skelton, what the pledge means to me. I remember this one teacher. To me, he was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time. He had such wisdom. We were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day, and he walked over. Mr. Lasswell was his name. He said, "I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it is becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there is respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. Of the united, that means we have all come together, states, individual communities that have united into 48 great states, 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. Of America and to the Republic, a state which sovereign power is vested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands, one nation, being so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation, and justice, the principle or quality of dealing fairly with others for all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to our Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said, that's a prayer, and that would be eliminated from our school system too? Thank you.
We honor each of you, America's veterans, who serve so faithfully and honorably. In peace and times of conflict, at home or abroad, your service came at a personal cost to your family, to you and your family. Through your sacrifice, you have secured for millions of others the blessings of freedom, democracy, and the unmatched opportunity that we enjoy in the United States today. For that, we are grateful, and we hope you enjoyed our program tonight. This concludes our program today. We invite all of our honored guests to stay for some refreshments in the LGI. Would the Interact Club Committee and Student Council ushers please escort them to the LGI at this time? Students, please remain in your seats for a school-wide announcement from Mr. Rainey.